Now, regarding the protocol, we will use an exploration line, an initial penetration line, which is the K10 line. That will help us reach an initial working length or an estimated working length. After an irrigation procedure, we will be able to remove the initial constraints of the canal with the SCE descent. This SCE is an instrument with a 0.25 millimeter tip diameter and a 6% taper. It has a relatively short step to eliminate these initial constraints. It is used initially in a centered descent with a rotation speed of 250 to 400 revolutions per minute. Personally, I prefer a speed of 400 revolutions per minute. It's a comfortable speed that reduces the constraints on the instrument. The recommended torque, if you're using torque control, is 1.8 to 2.5 Newton centimeters. Once you've finished your centered descent, you can proceed to support by a stand, which will allow to relocate the channel or start the cleaning. The second step after an irrigation procedure will be achieving patency up to the apical construction, eliminating constraints up to the apical construction, and this you'll do with SC2, the second instrument. The first instrument had a white ring, the second a yellow one, following the ISO colors. 25 hundredths of a millimeter in diameter, 2.4% taper, not relatively short. The same recommended speeds, the same torque control, centered descent, then support by stand in a second phase. To start shaping, we will be finalized after a thorough irrigation with the terminal instrument of the Revo S Plus sequence, the SU, which has a red ring. This SU has a tip diameter of 25 and a 6% taper. It has a particularly long step that allows optimal cleaning. You'll notice that instruments are also coded by their taper levels. The stops.
Black corresponds a
Gray
lot.
stops have a 4% taper. All these instruments will be used first in a centered descent and then in a parietal support, all at a speed of 250 to 400 revolutions per minute, and a torque around 2 Newton meters. In some cases, you'll have an easy case to handle. It happens. And it's always a relief in the office when we have an easy case to handle. It changes things up a bit. In these simple cases, you'll notice that it's very easy to take a size 15 file directly to the working length. And from the start, we can determine the working length. In this instance, since there are no high constraints, no high shaping to do, you can, from the beginning, use SC2, start with instrument number 2 of the sequence with its identifying yellow ring and gray stop. .25 hundredths of a millimeter tip diameter, 4% taper, as I've said, descent centered, then support by stage, and you will complete this shaping very quickly with the SU with the same use method as before. This will allow you to treat these simple cases with only 2 instruments that you will bring directly to working length.